filming this video for ages, and I finally have a gap where I can film it, and I also have both a lecture and a seminar tomorrow, so it's actually, timing's perfect. But I've always kind of wanted to show how I prepare for my lectures and seminars, as well as take lecture notes, because I find it is the biggest game changer is knowing how to take good notes and do your preparation well. So I wanted to go through and show how I do this. All right, so before I even sit down to do any of my schoolwork, there's some prep I do. First, I put on my glasses because if I'm going to do a lot of reading and sitting in front of a screen, I want some eye protection so that I don't get that nasty blue light into my eyes. The second thing is I put my phone, I have a special do not disturb mode that I will show you. So I go focus, and then I have a special one called reading and revision, and I put that one on and it blocks all notifications just so I don't get distracted by anything, because I find I might go to text my boyfriend back really quick and then all of a sudden I've spent 20 minutes on TikTok. Second of all, I always do my readings on my iPad, but I like having my laptop open in front of me just in case I want to look up any vocab or maybe look up an author, their previous work, that kind of thing. But I don't want to have any screens open that can distract me, like email or my work Slack or my Blackboard is the school system my school uses, just in case notifications do come through, because I will get distracted. So my favorite thing, it's called Life At. It's an app, but I'm obsessed with it. You can choose all these different backgrounds and it just puts something in front of you that's not overly distracting, and it just has something up on your screen so your laptop A doesn't go to sleep and B isn't distracting, but you can still use it if needed. So I would totally recommend Life At. I like doing my readings the night before lecture. I've said this before on my channel, just because I like going into the lecture with a bit of background. Seminars, you obviously have to do the reading before because you're going in and doing a discussion, but how you prep for a seminar and a lecture are very different, and I'm gonna pull up my readings and kind of explain. I'm gonna do my seminar prep first. All right, so I've gone through and pulled up both the readings that my prof wanted me to do, and it actually turns out I've already done both of them because they were the readings for last week, but I want to make sure that I know them. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check, most profs do this, they'll post the thinking questions about the seminar. And so for this one, my prof has given us the overall question of what forms of discipline and or biopower exist in your lives, how do they shape your subjectivity? Prepare at least one specific example that addresses these questions. When I go through my readings, I have two highlighter colors. Most of the time it's green and blue. Green I do for just general points and ideas that I think are interesting or maybe relate to something I want to write an essay about. Blue, the second color, is for things that relate directly to either the question I'm being asked for my seminar, lecture materials, or relate to the overall theme of either this week of lecture or the reading itself. So I can find those if I really want to think of a key point, I can find those super cool. So that's kind of my logic. It seems like a lot, but this is what works for me, and I honestly find this really fast. I also tend to spend a lot longer prepping for seminars and going through seminar readings than they do lecture reading, because a lot of my profs, especially because I'm a finalist, will call on you. They will they'll be like talking to a partner and they'll come up and join your group and be like, Sydney, what do you think? And it just looks really garbage if you're like, I don't know, I didn't do the reading. And as much as I have shit my way through seminars before, profs can always tell, and other people in the room can always tell. And maybe this is my social anxiety being like, no one can know that I'm a little bit stupid sometimes. I need to know this reading inside and out. That's what my little anxiety brain, my little academic validation brain tells me. I think getting to know the readings inside and out is also really valuable for when it comes down the line when you're writing formatives and summatives, that you can instantly pull on these ideas, and profs want to see you're engaging with the material you've been taught. This seminar, I'm basically to go through, find specific examples of biopower and disciplinary practices in these readings and think about how they can relate to my life. Both of the readings I have are really unrelatable, and I don't mean unrelatable in a bad way, I just mean they're in completely different contexts and cultures than the one I currently live in. And so finding a way to even relate to my life, I find, is also a really good way of getting to know the material. So I'm just gonna go through, I'm gonna read through these again and just highlight what I think I need to know, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so both of those readings are done. The main thing I like to think about when I'm doing these readings, especially if I'm given preparation questions, is sort of like preparing for a test of like, what do I think they're going to ask me? How can I respond? What kind of discussions we might have, just so I'll have something to talk about. Now I'm going to do my lecture readings, and these differ a bit from how I do my seminar readings. So here's a little bit of when I download my readings and how I save them. So this is one of my readings this week, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it over to my GoodNotes, and then I'm going to go new document into the class that I need it for. It's a lecture reading, so I'm going to put it there. And then the last name of this author is Barclay, so I'm just going to go Barclay, and then week 6. I just put W6 for week. And then I can find it super quick when I need it. My lecture readings are a little bit different than seminar readings. I can know what the overall theme is for the week, but I haven't been taught the material yet. So this is more just me trying to get background information. So again, green and anything I might find interesting, or if I have questions about that I can maybe bring into lecture or even will be potentially answered in my lecture, I try and highlight that. And then blue is stuff I think is really important and relates to stuff maybe I've been taught previously in the course, or I know relates directly to this week's topic because of lecture heading. Obviously, because I don't have a set question, this takes me a lot less time. I don't want to say I like skim the readings, I just kind of go through, but I'm not like picking apart and really questioning it. I'm just going, okay, this is background knowledge that I'm going to take into lecture, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go through and do this reading. I only have one assigned for this lecture this week. That's not bad, I will take that. So that reading's all done. I don't even think it took me 10 minutes. It's actually really interesting, so love that. This is like all the highlighting. Will all of it be valuable? I don't know. So that is how I prep for lectures and seminars. Now I'm going to show you how I take notes in lecture. You can't really tell right now because as I immediately sniffle, but I'm actually pretty sick right now. I had to skip my lecture today because I was just coughing and sniffling and gross, and I always talk about people that show up to lecture and are really sick, so I don't think it's fair of me to show up to lecture and be very sick. So I'm actually gonna do one of my lecture notes right now, and I'll kind of take you through the process of how I do lecture notes. Obviously this is going to be a bit different than how I would do notes if I was in a lecture, but whatever. When I do my notes from home, I will have my slides up on the screen, like my laptop screen. I'm just not going to show them. Some of the slides have my prof's contact info, and I don't want to accidentally dox my prof. I will take my notes on my iPad. The lectures at my university are still voice recorded. It's like a podcast basically. I don't love doing that. I don't get anything out of it personally. I find it really distracting. I find it hard to follow. So I normally just do the slide, and I know a few people in the class, so I'll just ask them to send me notes and I'll kind of fill in the little gaps. In terms of me taking lecture notes, I am a bit of a perfectionist. A fun fact about me is when I used to go to university in Canada, I would sell my notes, and I actually made like probably $50 a term. So I don't do that anymore because topics change in lectures so much here, and I don't think anyone would be interested, to be honest. But in terms of setting up my notes, what I like to do is I just make a nice big header saying what week it is, and then I go through and I write what the lecture topic is. Capitalism and colonialism. And then I go through and I do one of these because I am one of those girls, unfortunately. And then what I also do is I go through and I add this to outline, and whatever week it is, I just add so that when I'm going through the outlines, I find each week super quick. So while I'm taking my notes, I like having headings very bold just so I can find them super. If it's talking about a specific paper, I usually will write the paper itself just in block letters, and then I will go into my body text and take my notes that way. And then any subheadings I do in a different color, again, just so they stick out. This one doesn't have any. We'll keep going on and on. Whatever subheadings I need to write, just like that. If I have any diagrams I need to put, I like using the sticker feature. I like this one because it looks like a little post-it note, and I will draw whatever diagram I need. Example, this is like absolutely nonsense, but whatever. And then I throw her on there, makes it stick out a lot more. I'm just gonna go through and do these lecture notes. We'll see you all in a bit. One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about formatting my lecture notes is how important paraphrasing and using shorthand can be. I use so much shorthand in my notes. I know what it means. It's just so you can get as much information down as fast as possible, and also paraphrasing and rephrasing what your lecturer is saying, because you're just regurgitating what they're saying onto a page. You're not going to retain it very well, but if you put it into terms you understand, then you're going to retain it a lot better and you're going to understand a lot better because it's in like a framework you get. As long as you're not drawing like crazy analogies, just so I can get these ideas across in a way that I can easily understand when I'm going through my notes, and easily understand just as I'm like learning the concepts in lecture. So my notes are all done. It is 5 to 10, so I'm gonna go to bed. I find when I miss a lecture and have to do notes from home, my lectures are 50 minutes. The notes at home will take me upwards of an hour. So I always, even with my walk to class, it is almost better for me to go to class and take the notes. So that's a little bit frustrating, but oh well, it's motivation for me to go to lecture, and I feel like I understand stuff in lecture when I attend. I also forgot to mention that if I miss a lecture, once I've done my notes and my readings, I always book into my prof's office hours and be like, hey, sorry, I was sick, I missed your lecture. Just wanted to go over all this stuff, make sure that I understand what's going on, because it's a lot better to do that than right before an essay's due at the end of term being like, actually,
I missed weeks, I don't know, 2, 4, and 8. Don't get it.
And the prof's gonna be like, well, it's end of the year, I can't help you. Versus if you go right away, it shows that initiative on your part and reflects yourself really well to the prof, and also you'll just understand stuff a lot better. And I find my lectures build on top of each other. So if you're building, like if you're going to classes like a sand castle, right? Stick with me here. By going every week, you're getting like the really nice buckets and filling them with nice wet sand and packing it down and making your little towers. But when you don't go, you don't really have the bucket because you don't know what shape you need. So you're kind of making it by hand. You're getting the general idea, but it's still not going to be great for your sandcastle. It'll be better to have the bucket. So by going and talking to your prof, you get the bucket so you understand the vibe so you can make a better sandcastle. This is the wackiest analogy ever. Comment down below if that makes sense. Anyways, this is a very long-winded way of me saying that this is also the end of the video. This is the first like sit down chit chat advice video I've done in like for a month, which is crazy because this is like all the content I used to do last year. So if you miss this kind of stuff, comment down below and maybe I'll bring a bit more of it back. If you like this video, please like, comment, or even go as far as to subscribe. I'm posting weekly-ish now. Sometimes life gets a little busy, but mostly weekly or every 2 weeks is when I post. If not, you don't want to subscribe this time, it's no biggie. I hope I will see you again soon. And now it's time for our end of video tradition where we take a sip of our water. And for once my water is like completely full. I'm so proud of myself. We take a sip of our water or whatever beverage we have nearby, and we stay happy, we stay healthy, and we are kind to other people, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.